Okay, folks, I want to talk a little bit about engine RPM at cruising speed. So, this is going to kind of relate both to this truck and 1972 Chevy C10 for anybody that hasn't followed my videos, and my Jeep JK that has a 2018 GM 5.3 L83 with an 8-speed in it. So the reason for this video is my JK is got a stock motor in it. I did do the DOD AFM delete after having some problems with it, but it's got 373 gears. It's got a 4-inch lift and an 1.25 inch body lift, so it sits up in the air. It's got 35-inch tires, and it's my daily driver. I've driven that thing to Missouri. I've driven it all over Texas. I love driving that thing. It excites me. I built that vehicle. Having a little bit of an ego, I guess. The trash can's blown over. We're having some winter here. It's finally into the 30s. It was 80 something degrees on Saturday. But anyway, RPM on my Jeep is somewhere around right at 1700 RPMs at 70 miles an hour, and that's actual miles per hour. I got the speedometer corrected. I've got the GPS, and thing runs good. Doesn't get terribly great gas mileage. 35-inch tires, big tall Jeep. But one thing that frustrates me a little bit is that when I get into the wind, that thing's built like a brick. It will shift, and it'll downshift to 7, sometimes 6 as it's pushing against the wind, and it will hold that gear for a long time before it shifts back up. So I know that's what the 8-speed transmission's for. It doesn't worry me, but it bothers me. Two different things. So I built this truck, and this truck's got a Turbo Hydromatic 3-speed from the 60s and 70s. It doesn't have a locking torque converter in it, and 307 gears in it. So it's not very it's what's the word I'm looking for? Efficient, but it does the job. I actually like driving this thing too, and it will run 80 miles an hour. So the RPMs at 80 miles an hour are like 28 or 2,900 RPMs in this vehicle. And you don't really know it because it runs so smooth. And even though it has dual exhaust, the exhaust is actually quiet because the mufflers are under the bed and it doesn't come up into the cab when you're driving. Now you can hear it now because I'm accelerating. I'm not flooring it, I'm just regular driving. But at 70 miles an hour, we're like 2,400 RPMs, 2,500 RPMs. And what I noticed is the motor reacts much better at that RPM. So is this truck something I'm going to drive across country? Probably not, but I could. And if I did, I may go to a 700 or a TH400 or a different transmission with more gears. So I wouldn't pull as high as RPM. And I probably should drive at 70 instead of 80, but it drives so good. So with that said, the Jeep, I would like to increase the RPM slightly. So I've been contemplating putting 410 gears in it. It's going to cost me 300 gears. I've got pretty much all the shims and all the supplies I need to do the gearing. I can do my own gearing. I don't know if 410s, it's like a 10% increase. That would put my RPMs in the high 1800s. If that would make a difference. And again, I just would like to pull 8th gear a little bit more and, hold the gear. There's not a lot of hills here. It's mainly wind. And I'm also thinking that I'm probably working that engine a little bit harder, lugging it around at 1,700 RPMs as opposed to revving it another 200 RPMs and getting closer to where you can measure the torque. When you do a tuning run, they don't even really start testing horsepower or torque until 2,000 RPM anyway. That is not going to be a hot rod. I am not going to run that thing at 5,000, 6,000 RPMs. I don't do burnouts in it. It's my driver. I enjoy driving it. And same way with this truck. You know, this stuff isn't to do burnouts. This stuff isn't to do high-speed performance stuff. It's to drive. I build these things to drive and have fun with it. I build other stuff to hot rod. So the question would be, is that the next step up from 410s, it's hard to find the 410 gears. I have found some. The next step is 456. Is it worth in the JK changing to 410 gears, or am I going to go to 456, and is 456 going to put my RPMs too high for what I want to do? So I've got some questions. That's kind of why I put this video up. I know the 3 people that watch my videos probably really don't have an opinion, but I'm welcoming any and all opinions just for that. I looked all over the internet to try to find information for cruising RPM in an L83 or a 5.3, and everybody wants to talk about horsepower. Okay, I don't care about peak horsepower. Again, I don't run 5,500 RPMs. I want to put a supercharger on Gene's 3.6. Again, I did all the research that I wore out and looking at videos and information. Everybody wants to talk about peak horsepower. Her Jeep is not going to be revving to 5,000 RPMs repeatedly. I want the thing to drive down the road. I want to do the supercharger or ProCharger or turbo or whatever in her Jeep for exactly the same reason. When I'm driving the thing, I want it to hold 8th gear and just drive. And I just want the drivability of it, you know. I know that's a lot of money for drivability, but I keep my vehicles forever. I build them to make them more, they're pleasant to drive. I do my own work, so it doesn't cost as much as people think. And, you know, if you make the vehicle the way you want it to be, then I think it should be that. But anyway, need opinions on gearing. You know, should I put 410s in? Everybody's going to say, well, you ought to put 456s in. Well, I'm not going to rock crawl it. I already have a rock crawler. I want to go down the road and get good gas mileage or decent gas mileage, and I don't want to shift 47 times in a straightaway. So that's the question for the Jeep. And if anybody has any feedback on the durability of a 3.6 with a supercharger that's daily driven and not hot rod, I'd welcome that too. Anyway, I think I live at AutoZone. These guys welcome me. It's like Norm walking into Cheers. And I got to go buy a bracket. So that's on this video.